we are going to find the equation of a tangent line. Now, look down at this equation. This is the point slope form of a line. This slope is all we're missing to write an equation of the tangent line. And from calculus, we know that the slope of the equation of the tangent line is its derivative. So m, which is our slope, is the derivative of the function. So here's our function, and it's made up of two functions. There's the outer function, which is e to the something, and then the inner function, which is secant x. So by the chain rule, the derivative of this function is the outside function, which is e to whatever it started with, right? E, it's just the repeat. This is e to the secant x. But then the chain rule says we need to multiply by the derivative of what I would call the inside function. And the derivative of secant is secant tangent. And so that's the slope at any x. We want to know the slope when x is pi over 4. So this is going to give us a number. So this is e to the secant of pi over 4 times the secant of pi over 4 times the tangent of pi over 4. So the secant of pi over 4, that's 1 over the cosine of pi over 4. And the cosine of pi over 4 is 1 over the square root of 2. And so if we multiply top and bottom by the square root of 2 over the square, well, by the square root of 2, we find that this is the secant of pi over 4, and it is just the square root of 2. So we need that several places. And the tangent of pi over 4, well, that's 1. So we can do this, that our derivative is e to the square root of 2, because that's what the secant of pi over 4 is, times the secant of pi over 4, which is the square root of 2, times the tangent of pi over 4, which is 1. And so we replace this slope with the derivative evaluated at pi over 4, which is the slope of the tangent line at pi over 4. So this becomes y minus e to the square root of 2 equals the slope, which we get from here, is the square root of 2 times e to the square root of 2, and then times x minus pi over 4. Now, that's the answer in point slope form right here. If you need it in slope-intercept form, if you need it in y equals mx plus b, we have a little bit more work to go. So in order to find that, we're going to distribute the slope into each of these and get y minus e to the square root of 2 equals the square root of 2 times e to the square root of 2 times x minus the square root of 2 times e to the square root of 2 times pi over 4. Now, I don't know that that made your life any easier. Oh, and then we have to add e to the square root of 2 to both sides. So I'm not sure that that made your life easier. But if you need it in slope-intercept form, this becomes y equals, our slope is radical 2 e to the square root of 2 times x, y equals mx plus, and then our y-intercept is e to the square root of 2, that's from here, minus radical 2 times e to the square root of 2 times pi over 4. And that whole mess, this is our y-intercept. So here's y equals mx plus, this is b. But I think this is a much nicer form up here.